Mr. Bowman, how are you?
Doing well.
Good to see you.
Likewise.
Honored to meet you.
Thank you.
Grab a seat, grab that microphone.
Oh, man.
Come on in here, Mr. Bowman. Let's visit, like we like to say. You got a little bit of time for me?
I got a little bit.
All right. Let's talk about the recruiting process. We like to begin back there, and obviously you signed at Baylor. Carol Dawson is recruiting you. How did that work? Tell me how that went.
Well, let me tell you, it was providential. Carol didn't know a thing about Tommy Bowman, never heard of me. He was on his way from Micheaux, I think going back to Gold Alba is where he lived. And he stopped to get some fuel at the Texaco station there in Athens. And there was a guy there by the name of Granville Creighton. He saw the basketball stick on his vehicle and said, "You're a coach?" I said, "Yeah, I'm a coach." So you're a basketball coach? I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, we got the best basketball player in the state right here in Athens." And I never did pay him for that, but I owed him. And so Carol started looking through his information on prospects. Tommy Bowman was nowhere to be found. So he asked a little bit, said, "Well, where does he live?" He said, "Well, he lives around the lane there, down the corner." Now, according to Carol Dawson, and he's here, he came over to my house, and my mama was on the porch shelling peas. Now, Carol says she was shelling black-eyed peas, but I want to correct that. We didn't eat black-eyed peas. She was selling cream peas. And he came over, and he won my mama's heart because she thought he was a tall, good-looking white boy. And so he convinced her that that's where I need to go to Baylor. And let me tell you a little bit more about this. I get to Baylor, I go up and I visit, I make my official visit. I don't even meet the head coach, Coach Menifee. I signed a scholarship contract. I enrolled at Baylor University, and I still have not met the head coach. So if you think it was not providential that I go to Baylor, you need to think again.
Was it, at the time, did you know you were going to be the first African-American scholarship player?
No, I didn't. I wish I could tell you that I was aware of that, but I knew when I came up and visited TCU, I knew that James Cash was the first black at TCU and the first in the Southwest Conference. But it just never occurred to me that I was the first at Baylor. Just never did.
Did it ever matter?
It never mattered to me. I think it mattered to some folks at Baylor.
Was it ever hard?
Not really, because my teammates, Gatewood, Sibley, Croucher, those guys, they knew I was the first black. They understood the pressure that was going on, and they kind of protected me. They looked after me, and they continue to look after me even today, as a matter of fact. But it was, God blessed me to be the first at Baylor, and God provided a way for me. Yeah. That's the best I can tell you.
I like it. I like it. Give us some insight into the caliber of play in the Southwest Conference in those days.
Well, the fact that they thought I was pretty good meant that the caliber wasn't very good. Well, you know, the Southwest Conference was a football conference. It was a football conference. And that word hadn't trickled down to Baylor, but it was a football conference. And basketball was not high on the program there. But, you know, from a personal standpoint, I thought we played pretty good brand of ball. It's some guys here today, Sibley, Gatewood, Tom Stanton, Croucher. Those guys are pretty good basketball players. As a matter of fact, they might have been better than me, but they just weren't the first black.
Was there there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody relax. We knew it would happen. We just didn't know when.
I thought maybe I said something.
No, you didn't say anything wrong. It may go on for a minute or two, but we're going to plow through with it happening. So again, this is only a test. There you go.
It would happen on my watch.
They had to do it when you were up here, didn't they? Sometimes we're a little slow at TCU, so they repeat it for us occasionally. Make sure we get it. There you go. All right, we made it through. Was there a difficult place to play? Was one more difficult? Like, what was the toughest place to go on the road and play?
College Station, without a doubt. And I won't go into the details, but Shelby Metcalf was the basketball coach at TCU when I was being recruited. And he had a sister that lived there in Athens, my hometown. So my mother knew Metcalf's sister, had a relationship with her. So when he'd come to Athens, you know, I'd see him on occasion. And one day he said, "Tommy," he says, "you're a terrific basketball player. I'd love to recruit you, but A&M just ain't ready for you." And he wasn't lying either, because when I went down there to play, they weren't ready for me to come to play either. So without a doubt, that was the most hostile. And with all respect to Aggies, with all respect, that was the most hostile place that I had to play in. It wasn't even as bad as Atwater, the place up there in the hills
In
of
Arkansas, there you go. Let me ask you this as we close up, Mr. Bowman. At the beginning, I referred to you as a trailblazer. Would you agree with that? Did you ever think of yourself that way?
Well, I never thought of myself, but in retrospect, I think that's probably an adequate description. Because after all, I was the first. And I always felt like that whatever impression I made would be a lasting impression. So even though I didn't consider myself being a trailblazer, I felt like I had a responsibility to conduct myself in a godly manner, because not only was I representing the blacks, I was representing my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
And you have done that. You have done that in amazing fashion. Congratulations.
You bet.
Tommy Bowman, ladies and gentlemen.